Hello everyone, my name is Brady Haislet. I'm an application engineer here at 3M, and today we're going to talk through the application of clear coat. Now before we get started, you of course want to have the appropriate personal protective equipment for the job. Since we'll be spraying paint in a booth, I'll be wearing my safety glasses, a paint suit, some gloves, as well as the appropriate respirator for the coating I'll be applying. And this video is intended for professional audiences such as a body shop. If you have questions about safety or warranty information, you can find that in the description below. Now let's get started. Now that we've got our repair all the way through base coat, including that blend into the adjacent panel, we're ready for some clear coat on the job. Now with every coating you apply, you want to look at the manufacturer's tech data sheet to make sure you're following the appropriate application technique. Now, with this clear coat, it calls out 2 wet coats, which is pretty common. However, there are some clear coats on the market that will call out a medium dry coat followed by a wet coat. And what that does is it puts a little bit of additional texture in with that first coat before that second coat is wetted out and post-flows and levels out that texture to better match OEM. And texture match is key when it comes to clear coat applications because the goal is to match the OEM texture of the clear coat in the panels adjacent to the repair. Now to do that, you can actually adjust your technique, and for instance, if you want a smoother texture, you can apply the coating closer to the panel, just keep that spray gun close to the panel, and at a higher pressure, and that will wet out and give you a smoother texture with minimal orange peel. However, if your OEM texture requires that you impart some orange peel, you can actually back the spray gun up further from the panel and reduce that air pressure, and that will impart a little additional texture in the job if that's what you're looking for as you apply the clear. Since we had an adjacent panel that we just blended partway into, there is a lot of that panel that didn't see any base coat, and it still has just a little bit of prepared clear coat. And for a better color match, so we don't actually skew the color in the area beyond the blend, we actually only apply 1 coat in that area. So we'll do 2 full coats over the freshly applied base coat. However, beyond the blend, we'll limit that down to just a single coat of clear because we don't need that additional UV protection since there's sufficient thickness in what was there before. Ensure that you allow enough flash time after your first coat, paying attention to what it says on that tech sheet, before you apply that second coat of clear, which could trap some additional solvents. And also, when you're ready to cure that clear coat, if you're going to be doing a forced cure, pay attention to the time and temperature it says on the tech sheet. However, note that that's a panel temperature, not an air temperature. So you may need to do some measurements to get a feel for what to set the booth bake cycle to. One last thing to mention is if you happen to do any back masking on your repair, you want to make sure that you push that away even before the forced cure cycle to ensure that you're not damaging that clear coat during the removal. That's all we have for this video. Thank you guys for watching. This concludes our paint application series. If you like the content, feel free to hit that like button, subscribe, or comment below. And for more content like this, there's a link for the Collision Repair Academy. We'll see you next time.